In just 6 months, Prime, pushed by Logan Paul and KSI, turned limited stock drops and TikTok hype into a billion-view frenzy, racking up a $250 million valuation and locking sponsorships with Arsenal and Barcelona. But what started as Gen Z's ultimate status drink is now facing accusations of manipulating kids, lawsuits over forever chemicals, and questions about energy drinks disguised as sports hydration. How did Prime become the most controversial drink of a generation? And why are parents, doctors, and regulators sounding the alarm? The answer lies in the high-stakes game that redefined influencer power and unleashed consequences nobody saw coming. Prime didn't just launch, it detonated. The fuse was lit by Logan Paul and KSI, two heavyweight creators with a combined audience bigger than most TV networks. Their playbook was pure digital theater, limited stock drops, cryptic countdowns, and a TikTok blitz that made every bottle feel like a golden ticket. #Prime clocked over 1 billion views in 6 months. Kids filmed taste tests in school bathrooms, parents camped outside supermarkets, and eBay scalpers flipped bottles for 10 times retail. In the UK, Aldi rationed sales to 1 bottle per customer, then watched shelves empty in minutes. Retailers from Target to Asda ordered entire pallets sight unseen, betting on a guaranteed tidal wave of Gen Z customers. The hype wasn't accidental. Paul and KSI engineered every moment for maximum FOMO. Teasers dropped on YouTube, then migrated to Instagram, then exploded on TikTok, each platform feeding the next. The result? Prime generated $250 million in retail sales during its first year, outpacing legacy brands and turning hydration into a status symbol. Soccer partnerships with Arsenal and Barcelona cemented its place in youth culture, plastering neon bottles across stadiums and social feeds. For a brief, wild stretch, Prime wasn't just a drink, it was Gen Z's ultimate flex. But behind the rainbow packaging and viral stunts, the next phase of scrutiny was already brewing. Prime's bottle wasn't just designed to catch the eye, it was engineered to blur the line between sports drink and energy shot. The same neon colors, the same bold fonts, whether you grabbed hydration or energy. For a kid in a school cafeteria, the difference was a line of tiny print. Parents found both bottles in backpacks and gym bags, never sure which one their child had grabbed. The confusion wasn't accidental. Prime's branding strategy leaned hard into youth culture, plastering bottles across soccer stadiums and Instagram feeds. Arsenal and Barcelona signed on as official partners, giving Prime front-row access to millions of young fans. At halftime, kids begged for bottles like they once begged for jerseys. The pitch wasn't hydration, it was belonging. Every detail, from the collectible flavors to the rainbow shelf displays, spoke in the language of sneakers and rare trading cards. Prime wasn't just a drink, it was a badge, a status symbol for the under-18 crowd. But as the bottles multiplied in schools and locker rooms, so did questions. Why did a sports drink need to look like a party favor? Why did parents have to squint to spot the difference between caffeine and no caffeine? The closer Prime got to the heart of youth culture, the more it looked like it was built for kids, whether the label said so or not. It arrived in the same electric colors, the same bold fonts, just a new word stamped across the label: energy. Inside, a single can packed 200 milligrams of caffeine. That's nearly double a Red Bull, or the equivalent of 6 cans of Coke, all funneled into a drink that looked like it belonged on a Little League sideline. Parents started finding these cans in backpacks and gym lockers, only realizing after the fact that their kids weren't sipping a sports drink. They were mainlining enough caffeine to keep a grown adult wired for hours. Calls to poison control centers ticked up. Emergency rooms reported cases of rapid heartbeat, insomnia, and full-blown panic attacks among teenagers. In Wales, a cluster of students fainted after splitting cans at lunch. School districts across the UK and Australia banned Prime outright, citing classroom disruptions and health scares. Medical experts lined up on morning shows, warning that children's bodies can't handle adult doses of caffeine, especially when the warning is buried in fine print. The backlash wasn't just about a drink. It was about a product that made parents feel powerless and kids feel invincible, until the crash hit. The first major blow landed in a California courtroom. Lawyers for a group of Prime buyers filed a class action lawsuit, accusing the company of selling drinks laced with PFAS, so-called forever chemicals, linked to cancer and immune disruption. Independent labs, hired by the plaintiffs, found PFAS at 0.06 parts per trillion in bottles of Prime Hydration Grape. That's triple the EPA's new health advisory for drinking water, a threshold so low that some scientists debate whether it's even possible to test reliably. Prime's defense was swift. The chemicals, if present at all, came from packaging, not the liquid. They called the lab results junk science, pointing to the EPA's own admission that levels below 1.1 parts per trillion are hard to measure. But the headlines wrote themselves. A brand that promised clean hydration was now fighting claims of toxic contamination. The company's certificates of analysis never mentioned PFAS. On social media, parents and consumer advocates demanded answers. No recalls followed, but the legal siege had begun. Prime's lawyers argued the science was flawed. Plaintiffs countered that any PFAS in a kid's drink was unacceptable. The battle lines were drawn, not just over what was in the bottle, but whether the company could be trusted at all. The cash machine jammed in Missouri. Refresco, one of the world's biggest beverage bottlers, had just finished building a custom production line. Millions spent, all for Prime. The contract was ironclad. Congo Brands, Prime's parent company, had promised to buy 90% of 55.5 million cases every year for 3 years. That's enough bottles to fill a stadium, again and again. But by spring 2024, the hype had flatlined. Prime sales tumbled, down 50% in the UK alone. Instead of ramping up, the founders skipped a mandatory test run, then pulled the plug. Not a single bottle left the new line. Refresco was left holding the bill. $68 million in sunk costs, idle machinery, and lost profit. The lawsuit landed with a thud in Delaware court, accusing Prime of walking away from its obligations and leaving a purpose-built plant gathering dust. No public comment from Paul or KSI. No explanation for why a brand that once couldn't keep up with demand now couldn't fill a single order. For Refresco, the influencer dream had turned into a very real, very expensive nightmare. Senator Chuck Schumer stepped in with a public warning. In July 23, he demanded the FDA investigate Prime, calling it a serious health concern for the kids it so feverishly targets. Within days, the FDA received a formal request to review how Prime was being sold and labeled, especially to minors. The scrutiny didn't stop at Capitol Hill. School districts across the US, UK, and Australia started banning Prime from campuses, energy and hydration both, citing student health scares and classroom chaos. Some schools even sent letters home, warning parents that Prime Energy's caffeine levels could be dangerous for children. In Canada, health regulators pulled Prime Energy from store shelves, while the UK and Australia tightened import restrictions and required age checks at the register. The message from public authorities was blunt. Prime wasn't just a viral sensation, it was now a regulatory headache. For parents, the bans offered relief. For the brand, they signaled a new reality, one where the hype machine had run headlong into the rules of the adult world. By its first year, Prime's sales had already reached $250 million, fueled by over 1 billion TikTok views and high-profile sponsorships with Arsenal and Barcelona. But behind the viral success, the evidence is clear. Prime's marketing targeted young consumers, while Prime Energy's 200 to 225 milligrams of caffeine per can far exceeds levels recommended for minors. Independent lab tests reveal PFAS contamination in certain batches, leading to class action lawsuits and growing parental concern. The $68 million contract dispute with Refresco and school bans across multiple countries now put Prime's future under scrutiny. Yet, questions remain, such as the full extent of youth consumption patterns and the outcome of ongoing legal actions. What's certain is that Prime's rapid rise exposed gaps in product oversight, youth marketing, and energy drink regulation. As the legal and regulatory battles continue, the story of Prime stands as a case study in the power and risks of influencer-driven brands.